Well, I'll call this meeting to order. At this time, could I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss administrators' evaluations and contracts?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session to discuss administrators' evaluations and contracts under WS 16-4-405 Lalai. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. There we are. Letter A, administrators' contracts. They'll be voted on individually, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could we add under discussion items, exit interviews?
At what?
Exit.
Exit interviews? Thank you.
Yes, we can. Any other changes to the agenda? Could I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Move to approve the amended agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the amended agenda. Is there any more discussion on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Recognitions. Yes, Billy.
All right, I'd like to recognize Davin Hoffman for winning Wyoming Youth Soccer Player of the Year for 2022.
Oh, good. Yay.
Thank you.
Any other recognitions? Bryce.
Thank you. First, I'd like to recognize Tel Taviji. He took 4th place in extemporaneous speaking at the regional speech meet today in Gillette. I'd like to also recognize Lady Dogies. That's their 4th consecutive trip to the state basketball tournament, and best of luck to them this weekend. And then just would like to recognize Taylor Bergelli and everything that she does to help us with federal grants. I lean on her quite a bit for that, and I just really appreciate what she does.
Thank you. Tyler, did you want to?
As some of you know well, and might want to fight it a little bit, but we had some more success on the basketball court, and our 8th grade boys won the district title yesterday. So congrats to the Coach Smith and to the boys.
Good.
And to Dane Crabtree and all his teammates. That's it.
He's not even going to look up.
Excellent basketball player, guys. I mean, just what a basketball player he is.
Thank you, Tyler. Brandy?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to recognize Mr. Nelson, Cody Nelson. He organized that food drive we did before Christmas, and success there. But then he took the entire 1st grade class for their party swimming. So that was fun for him, but appreciated. Also like to recognize Sarah Gregory. She came from public health and did some nutrition presentations for us today. I heard they went wonderfully. And then also we'll recognize members of the board, parents, and special guests who came to read with our students last week for Read Across America. So we had a good turnout. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Any other recognitions? We'll move on to visitors' comments. Allison? She's still there?
And she is.
I'm here. Sorry, I had a link that came up that was covering my camera button. Can
Okay,
you hear me okay?
yes, you're good.
Great. So the last time we were together, we had some education on different topics that are relevant to the board. And we had a few more questions that had come up that I wanted to address with you, mostly along the lines of conflict of interest, which is not unusual for a town of your size. So I wanted to point your attention to the statutes that are under the Wyoming Ethic and Government Act. It's under 913. And I'm going to talk about sections 102 and 106. And if anybody wants me to send that to the board after the meeting, I'm happy to do so. Section 102 is the definition section. And so when you're looking at whether you have a family conflict under section A, little v, it explains that family members and decisions with regard to family members are conflict. And family members are defined as a spouse, parent, sibling, child, grandparent, or grandchild, or a member of the individual's household. So when you're looking at whether you have a conflict of interest, if you're making a decision that directly impacts a family member, you should treat that as a conflict of interest. And the other statute that I referenced is 913-106, and I'm going to pull it up on my computer so I can reference it. Give me just a second. And 913-106 is one of the statutes we talked about last time. The title of it is Official Decisions and Votes. And this statute really balances the interest that the public has in having you vote on matters where you don't have a conflict with making sure that you're not voting on things where you do have a conflict. So I'm going to read it, as boring as that may be for the audience. I apologize. But basically, a public official shall not make an official decision or vote on an official decision if they, and I'm paraphrasing a little, have a personal or private interest in the matter. So when you're determining whether you have a personal or private interest in the matter, you should recognize the importance of your right to represent your constituency, the voters, and you shall abstain from voting in clear cases of a personal or private interest. So when you're trying to figure out what a personal or private interest is, they're under section A2, basically says if you have a greater interest in either voting for or against something because of a relationship you have, or an interest that you have, that then makes it so that you have a conflict of interest. So when you're looking at making decisions for the board, those are the statutes that really should guide you. And it's really hard to give you a clear black and white answer of what is a conflict of interest or not, except as to direct decisions that affect your family members that I listed in that definition section. So it's a facts and circumstances analysis, and you really just need to look at it and determine whether a third party looking at you weighing in on that decision, whether they would think that you could make a fair decision based on your personal and private interests.
Is that all you have, Allison?
Well, I wondered if there were any specific questions from the board, but that was the main part of the presentation, to try and help answer some questions about potential conflicts of interest that may arise in you all carrying out your duties.
Is there any questions from the board? I see none, Allison.
And so I would just follow up to say, if someone has a question about whether they have a conflict of interest, I'm happy to try and work with you to address it. I also think a way to do that may be for the board to have a discussion if they think it's a close call. And if it's regarding, personnel decisions that may be made in executive session, you could have those discussions about whether it's a conflict of interest similarly in that setting. Sorry, too many consonants.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other visitors' comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the action items. The consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on to new business. I guess there was no old business. We'll move on to new business administrators' contracts.
Hey, Mr. Chair, this is new for me, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I would recommend to the board on candidate number 1, a contract extension, I believe is the word I need there.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Been moved and seconded to have a contract extension on personnel number 1. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 2, Brad?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend the same contract extension as previous, only to candidate number 2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to have a contract extension on candidate number 2. Is there any discussion? Excuse me. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I
Number 3.
recommend an extension of the contract to candidate number 3.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to have a contract extension on candidate number 3. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I make a recommendation to extend the contract on candidate number 4.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to have a contract for candidate number 4. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Candidate number 5.
I make a recommendation for a contract extension on candidate number 5.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the extension of candidate number 5. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
are we abstaining from the vote?
okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Can I call for a division?
Okay, we're going to do this by raise of hands. All in favor? Raise your right hand or left hand. Down hands. Opposed? Motion carried. Candidate number 6.
Mr. Chair, I recommend.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Brad.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I would recommend to the board contract extension for candidate number 6.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve that recommendation.
Been moved and seconded to approve the contract extension for candidate number 6. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on to permission to advertise for laptops. Brad?
Yes, I recommend or would ask the board permission to advertise a bid for the student laptop computer refresh to go out to bid.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to advertise for the student laptop computer refresh. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Permission to advertise for bids for proposed for control server upgrade.
Yes, I would ask the board permission to go out for the control server update.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go out for bids for the proposal of control server upgrades. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Certified resignation, Brad?
Mr. Chair, I recommend to the board the resignation of Jenny Peterson as a district-wide counselor and permission to post.
Move to approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to accept the certified resignation of Jennifer Peterson as a district-wide counselor and to post the position. Is there any discussion? Yeah. Yes, Joe. You're coming up.
Maybe a discussion for later, but exit interviews.
Do I
have
that under, under discussion item?
Yep.
Yep, I just want to make sure for this one too.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Another certified resignation.
Yes, I would recommend to the board the resignation of Stacy Jones as an elementary teacher, permission to post, and thank her for not only the years of service for our children, but the commitment to our community.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve with regret.
I will second that. It's been moved and seconded to accept the resignation of Stacy Jones as an elementary teacher for over 30 years and with regret, and thanking her for her job with students and the community. I hope I got all that in there. And permission to post. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Certified resignation, Brad?
Yes, again, Mr. Chair, I would recommend to the board the resignation of Laura Giesler as an elementary teacher. Again, permission to post. And again, thank her for all of her years of service to our children and equally as to our community.
Is there a motion?
Sure.
Yes.
I would like to so move, but also add with regret.
Okay.
Resignation.
I will second that. Been moved and seconded to accept the resignation of Laura Giesler as an elementary teacher with regret and thank her for the years of service to our students and our community and position and post the position. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Administrators report. You're sitting right up front, Bryce. How you got it?
All right, thank you. A few things. Spring sports began this week, and I don't think they should be called spring sports. It should be like late winter sports. But soccer and track are going at the high school. There's 37 boys and girls playing soccer and 36 boys and girls out for track. Those numbers always seem to dwindle a little bit after the first week, just depending on how kids keep their interest in those sports and, with the fun weather. But I guess they've been inside, so they can't complain about the weather yet. This month, March starts with an M, but we call it F month at the high school, but that's because it's FFA, FCCLA, FBLA. Those kids miss quite a bit of school during this time. So it's a lot of pressure on them to keep up and on their schoolwork, as well as compete and represent our community. So they'll have all of their state events throughout this month. I think it's just kind of the gap in the WHSAA calendar where they can fit those in for those clubs and activities. And so a lot of kids are going to be in and out of the building. We have a lot of kids that participate in more than one of those activities or clubs. And so I just credit their organization skills because they do a good job keeping up typically. And then just one thing I want to keep in touch on, the seniors last year, we had a big prom set up at the Flying V, and then that massive blizzard came through and we moved prom inside. So prom became much less expensive at that time. So they had a bunch of money left over from that they had fundraised as a class for prom. So instead, there's going to be a senior fun day on March 27th. That's the day that we're coming back into school, but we're communicating with teachers to help those seniors out, cut them some slack that day. And they're going to spend that money and have some fun activities brought to town for them. And so just a cool way to send them off. I don't think it's going to be a every year thing, but it was just a unique situation that they had a lot of money left over. And so wanted to spend it in a way that could benefit the senior class.
Sounds good. Yes.
Mr. Chair, if it would be possible, I would like to put on the record that if that is a snow day, it's not on the superintendent, it's on the senior class, just so everybody knows in advance, because sometimes we like to point fingers.
Okay. I guess it's on the record. Any questions for Bryce? That's all you had, I guess?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go right down the road. Angie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to give you an update on the time management system. We had our second Zoom today. Bo attends with me, and we learned how to clock in on there, and he's already created a tab on the district website. So you'll see a little tab on there. It says TMS. I should have wrote it down. Web portal. So we're moving along. I'm going to get all the hourly employees in the spreadsheet and get that sent to them, and we'll start testing the clocking in and out on that system. So forward progress.
Sounds good.
Any questions?
Any questions for Angie?
Thank you.
Thank you. Tyler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Was just here last week. So all I would tell you guys is about 40-ish for soccer and about 50-ish for track at the middle school. We get started on Monday, but we've had our interest meetings. We're starting to get the Remind app going and all those things that a lot of you guys know as parents, but that's about it. Sports are coming. Hopefully it's nicer next week when we get started. Fingers crossed.
Thank you. Any questions for Tyler? Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
I guess we'll go to Brandy.
Thank you. I do have a few things since I didn't report last week. White Top prep, our building leadership team started talking about that the other day, and we've got some things planned. We have a parent group that's going to come in and do a skit for a kickoff on after we have our muffins in the morning for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So we're kind of excited about that. I'm not allowed to tell you who because they want to nicely embarrass their children, but I think it's going to be pretty great. Also looking at some grade level incentives and then just some other fun ways to keep kids motivated to go do their best, because we do have some that like to click and get through them. So Gearing up for conferences in a couple of weeks. We are going to offer again in person or by phone call. We tend to get most of ours in person, but having that option for a phone call if they're on the road or something seems to help. And Connie's gearing up for the book fair. We just wrapped up intramural volleyball, finished with all 41 girls. So I'm kind of excited for that. They extended it a week to make sure they got enough time to play. So thought that was great. And then we are continuing with kindergarten screening signups right now. As of today, we're up to 47, which is still kind of low, but you all know they'll come out of the woodwork here over the next few weeks. So with that kind of thinking about next year and starting to do that planning, we'll want to add another first grade teacher, and then also considering keeping the 4 sections in second grade. We've had some kiddos move in and some needs are a little bit different than they were last year. So we'll kind of work through that over the next couple of months and I'll visit with you, but there's a heads up. So that's all I have unless you've got questions for me.
Any questions? Thank you, Brandy.
Yep.
Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a couple things. WDE sent out an email about a statewide book study to incorporate special education and general education teachers. And so we sent that out to the staff, and there's a group of 5 of us who are going to read that book together and go through that book study. And you get on with WD virtually 4 times and work with people from all over the state. Our first meeting was a couple weeks ago, and there was over 250 educators from around the state. So it was kind of cool to be able to talk to them. Our Special Olympic athletes leave for Jackson Hole next week. They haven't been able to go since 2019. So we're really excited for them to go and experience that. It's a big deal to them. Big deal. And then for our high school students, we have a Job Corp visit scheduled. It's in Nemo. Technically, we're not in the region to send kids there, but our closest one is Riverton. So that doesn't make sense to drive to Riverton to tour a facility. So we're excited to go over and see what that campus is about and what it can offer some of our students. So That's all I have for you.
Any questions for Taryn? Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
I couldn't see who.
I
you
know,
were.
right?
Sorry. Sonia?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a few updates, I guess, from the State Board of Education. I know that we told you that the math and science audit passed, and so that will be, I still haven't seen any memo for the informal comment period, but one thing that they did at their last meeting was to redistribute and nominate different officers, leaders, and appoint different people. So I thought one thing worth mentioning is that you might be familiar with the new State Board of Education chair. Bill Lampert is serving as that role for now. So if you see him, you can give him a little shout out. The kind of as people kind of hinted at is the calendar's in full mode for next year. So it's getting filled up and things are definitely getting planned around there. So we'll be bringing in some people. I'll keep you updated about that as we go. There are 4 individuals that Hope McKay, our high school Spanish teacher, has been working with. They are taking the test to try to earn a seal of biliteracy when they walk across the stage. So we have 4 individuals that are training for that. So we'll keep you posted on how that goes. And I guess lastly, I would say that the experience of what we've kind of done with our high school math situation this year has gained attention from statewide people. So we will be expecting a visit in the next couple of weeks from Wyoming Public Radio. They will be here kind of visiting and talking with us. I don't have the exact date yet, but that will be planned. So they're kind of visit, do some interviews, so we can expect an article or a little blurb on that. So anyway, that's what I have, unless you have questions for me.
Yes, Jason.
Is that bilingual? Is that a national or is that a state? Just
it's a state thing. I think different states offer it for sure, but that was something that the state had to agree upon and kind of move forward with. So this is a state award. Any other questions?
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
Bo, do you have anything? Is anybody on, just a second, I'll call in Jason. Anybody on Zoom? I don't know who's up there. Any? How's Missouri, Dana? Okay. Gabby, you want to go?
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our student council crew is going to be meeting with the 8th graders that are interested in student council during their high school career. We are going to be meeting with them on March 20th and just providing them lunch so that we can discuss with them the transition to high school and what the difference is and kind of introduce ourselves, kind of get to know them. This is just an opportunity to discuss next year and then also gives chances for our people that are running for office next year to get their name out there, talk to those kids that they don't necessarily know. And then my next thing is that we are currently issuing a $600 check to Make-A-Wish, Wyoming, because we did not make our donation earlier in the year due to earlier financial struggle when we had to go to WASC. So we are making a late donation, but it is still the biggest donation we have made in a few years. So pretty proud of that, but that is all I have.
Any questions for Gabby? Thank you. Jason? Said you had a report?
Yeah. Back to Bo. Not so much the clock in and out, and we may have something in place already, and this is just the first responder in me. With this new system and stuff, is there some type of accountability where, and like for you, Taryn, that go to multiple schools, you may be here, but then you leave to go somewhere else. And if there was an emergency, it kind of tracks that you're not here where we think you're here, but you're down at the grade school or anything like that.
Yes, it does. No, it doesn't track you, but what it'll do is if you're if you're an hourly person punching in at a different building, really what we do is we give them the address and it kind of like geocaching. So if you're gonna punch in on your mobile device, it'll see where that mobile device is and you have to be within 5 miles of that address, or we can pick how far it wants to be to punch in, but it doesn't really track if you're not punching in. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. But the mobile will geocache. You have to be in the vicinity before you clock in. We also have some kiosks, or they call them kiosks. They're just going to be computers. And you can log in through the web portal, and it's super simple. You click on the link, type your number in, type your password in, and hit punch in, and then you're good.
Okay. Any board reports? Brad, we're up to you. Okay. Future agenda items. We're asking permission to have a 5 p.m. early start on March 29th for executive session to discuss initial continuing contract teachers under WS 164405 lie.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to advertise for a 5 p.m. early start on March 29th for an executive session to discuss initial continuing contract teachers under WS 1644-405 lie. Wow, I said it twice. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We're down to discussion items. The last meeting we had a board training, and hopefully you had the opportunity to look at everything that was presented. If not, is there something that the board would like to sit down and discuss and have a training? Probably not at the next meeting, but maybe in April. Anything burning desire to talk about? They don't speak all at once. How about a board evaluation? And if we want to do a board evaluation, which one do we want to use?
Mr. Chairman. I did look through those and I think the one that might be most helpful to us is the WSBA Governance Standards Framework 2022 revision. I think that would really help us sort of drill down and do some pretty heavy reflection on what we're doing.
That's in the big packet?
Yep. And that would definitely take more than one. I would say that's a probably 3-month process if we wanted to devote 20 or 30 minutes to it every time.
Is that okay with everybody? If well, we'll plan on go read through that if you haven't already, and we'll discuss that just a little bit more at the next meeting on how far we want to go through that board evaluation, because the 4-day week survey. I guess there's the parent teachers conference and the 4-day week survey kind of go hand in hand. I know when we were discussing it earlier, we talked about taking a survey of parents and teachers as they come in at parent teachers conference, because that's an easy place to catch them. And I think it could be really simple. Do you like the 4-day week? Yes or no? And comments basically for that. And then we can collect those there. Maybe have a box or something so nobody knows who's writing what, but collect them unless somebody has something a little different.
Sure.
Yes.
So, I feel like we kind of already did this. I mean, didn't you guys send out, I'm looking at principals, didn't you guys send out information on that to parents? Because at least I know I got some emails from parents that you guys forwarded to us. So I don't know who did what, but. It was on the website, right?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how long ago it was, maybe in January. All of us as building administrators sent messages out to all of our parents asking for feedback on the 4-day week. I think I maybe forwarded 5 responses to you, and I just forwarded them directly to the board. I can't speak to what Tyler and Brandy did. And then I also asked my staff at that time as well. And so then anything the staff sent, I just sent directly to you as well. So you got it straight from them.
I guess the reason for it, Tina, from my standpoint is we get more than 4 or 5 answers, at least from the parents. We get as they're coming through the door, if they would just take the time to push yes or no if they like the 4-day week, and if they want to write a comment, they can, and if they don't want to, they don't have to. And then that kind of gives us a tally on where we're at. Similar to what the paper did, but I don't know if 19 votes really constitutes a majority of our school. It doesn't constitute a majority of our school, but it does give us an idea of what those people that take the opportunity to answer those questions do that. So yes, Jason.
And I guess, I don't disagree with you, but I think just, again, one more time, we've asked everybody, you've had an opportunity to put your comments in, and now, the board will make a decision, and, you can't say you didn't have the opportunity or we gave you an opportunity. The schools put stuff out, and then again, the conference one more time, hey, I think that would be good to, and then like I said, we can say confidently, we've given everybody plenty of opportunities to speak, so.
Anna,
Mr. Chairman, I guess to me, one of the groups that we really haven't polled and asked how or if it would affect them positively or negatively is the student body. So I guess I'd be interested in hearing from them too if we're going to continue with a survey about it.
we can do that. I just don't know if we have enough information to go forward with it, because if the parents say no, they don't want it, or our constituents say no, they don't want it, or if the survey says that, that's pretty easy to determine. But if they say yes, they do want it, there's a lot of things to consider, such as at the high school, do we stay with the block scheduling? Do we go to a 7-period day? What do we do on Fridays? What do we do at the elementary school? And so there's a lot of things that we need to talk through as an administrative team, I believe, or as a staff, to really understand where we're going with this thing. And I don't disagree that we need to bring the students into it too, but I think it's such a beginning step at this point. I mean, it might, I don't know what the seniors would say to a 4-day week. Well, they probably don't care, because they're going to go on to college, and maybe they'll have a 3-day week, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, and so I guess that's my point right now is this is really at the ground level to see where we're at, and as we go forward with it, if they say yes, if the majority of our parents, especially at parent teachers conferences, say yes, they would like it, then we can do the other staff. Well, we did get some staff, but we can get the staff, and we'll get everybody involved with it, whether we have a public meeting, which I think is a good idea, that we do that so we can get that input too firsthand. So yes, Gabby. Oh, excuse me.
I just want to follow up on that. Is as a senior, I spoke to a school board in 1976 to let them know that my senior year, I was on campus 2 Fridays the entire year.
Shame on you.
That was all sanctioned activities and sports, and hearing from students, I believe, helped them make the decision, and they've had a 4-day week since 1978.
What would you guys think about modifying a survey for the students? Like to the seniors, yes, they probably don't care, but also specifically the survey for the seniors could be different as to, you ask them questions like, how do you think the 4-day school week could have helped you during your years in high school? Not necessarily if they would want it or not, because most of them will just click. But if you enter any English room on persuasive essays, most kids write about a 4-day school week because it is a hot topic. But if you give kids the chance to actually bring that to life, or even just the seniors to write their opinions on it as they're leaving, that'd be helpful. But then for the other surveys, you can make them specialized to as if they want a 4-day school week, or how do they think it will help them in the future going forward.
Can you write a survey to that effect?
I think we could create a survey fairly easy. I know, especially at the high school, Google surveys are very popular, and we always, as student council, have high success rates with them. We usually have more than half of our population involved in them, or the high school census at least. So I think that could be successful. We could make up a survey and then possibly bring it up to you guys if you're interested in that.
We could do that. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, even cookies.
Okay.
Jason?
I'm good.
Okay. Would you do that, Gabby, please? Thank you. Yes, Tyler.
just full disclosure, I know Brandy mentioned having a pretty good turnout in person. Since we've modified what we do at the middle school, and you guys know, we do a really good job of connecting with parents, but especially in the spring, in-person conferences are lower than in the fall. A lot of them are opting for phone calls or even email correspondence. So, I mean, if you're trying to catch everybody, I just expect to see less parents. And then I would definitely tell you what I've always told you guys, which is Tuesday night is your night to get everybody in our building. Thursday night's pretty quiet.
Okay. I guess is the survey, is that too simple? Not explicit enough? It's just a feeler is what this really is. I mean, okay, we'll go with that then. Who can be at the conferences, parent-teacher conferences? Okay, I'll be there. Or at least on the 21st. Okay. Who wants to go where? Who wants to go to the elementary?
On the 21st.
Okay, Sean and Joe for sure. And then who wants to go to the middle school? There's 4 over here. That's fine.
I'd like to split. Yeah, that's same with me. Elementary and middle school, elementary one day.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I'm just on the 21st.
You can hit you can almost hit high school. That same day, Joe, you do middle school.
Yeah.
And I'll do elementary and I'll hit both.
Okay.
I can make it on the 21st.
You can't make it on the 21st? Can you make it, Dana? Okay. Where do you want to go? High school? Would that be okay for right now? Okay. Well, I can go to the high school too on the 21st. And so, and then on the 23rd, maybe I'll go to the elementary school. But, okay. Okay. And you can, I guess you can, where you show up is where you're going to end up. So that's fine. And hopefully, Sela, would you send out a little notice that as a reminder that the conferences are going on, not necessarily where they're going to be, but yeah. And then we'll need some little cards or something to say, yeah, whatever, not much. In a box, got to have a box.
We could do that. I can't. But I have people that can.
Well, we could do it electronically, I guess. Yeah, I'm of old school. I'm sorry.
If it's a check yes or no, it's not all that hard to input electronically after the fact either. What you guys have done, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The years run together, but there was a year where you actually kind of did both. You had hard copies there available at conferences, and then we had computers available. We've shared surveys with parents electronically on the website and via emails. You can still, I mean, everybody's got their own way of doing things. So if you want paper copies and you want computers available, you could take your paper copies and put them in with the rest of the electronic eventually. It's your guys' world. Just decide how you want to go about it.
We'll do both. Because there might be some people like me that are old school that like the paper. I don't know. Well, yeah, that's true. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Brad.
on the parent-teacher conference note, I have a question for the board, and that is if the board would entertain actually purchasing the meal for the staff on either one night or both nights. I think it would be a nice gesture if you would entertain that thought.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Can I amend what the? Well, I was gonna say he asked for 1 or 2.
Both. Do you want both?
I would prefer 2.
Let's do both.
Okay, I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we furnish meals for the staff. And we know how many meals that's going to be. I guess you guys tell us how many meals we got to work. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
We're having steak and lobster. We'll tell you that now.
Okay, that's fine.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
that we're gonna take that out of our board fund, correct? Okay, wanted to make sure of that. Thank you.
Take it out of transportation. They're not here tonight. Anything else on the parent teachers conference? We'll move on to exit interviews. Yes,
Mr. Chairman, so.
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I guess. I wanted to start with the question is, are we doing exit interviews? How does the information that may be helpful going forward get shared? All that sort of thing, so.
I do have an exit interview that I will send to the board for further input. And then we will issue those, but I think it's important before I just send it out that I think the board needs to be aware what the actual survey looks like. And that's my error. Actually, I think it was compiled. Well, it's been compiled over several years, but anyway, I will have CeeLo send that out to you. And then if you're okay with that, or if you have any additions, we can do that. And then I can make sure that as those results come in, they just are shared directly with you, the board first.
any other discussion on that, Paul?
Chair, I don't know how it's gonna work, but I would also think that it would be really important to have these interviews when we're transferring people between departments or building to building. I think that might give us some insight as to what's going on, why they're transferring to a different situation. So even though it's not an exit interview, a transfer interview, if there is the need for it, might be helpful, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Any more discussion on that? Yes, Joe.
Is it just a questionnaire that you send out or is it? Okay.
Yes, Brad.
So I'm going to date myself. 20 years ago, one of the things that I used to do at the end of the school year is set up times where people could come in for, I think they were 20-minute blocks, and we would just simply visit about sort of the year in review. And we did that. I would program them. I mean, sort of, this would be elementary kind of feedback, transportation, And I sort of put that one to rest because it was not viewed very popular at that time with some of the board and some of the administrators that thought I think it was more seen as like a micromanagement more than a reflective piece, to be honest with you. But I used to do that years ago. In fact, I still have the notebooks. But then I since quit that practice, but has been every bit of 20 years ago.
Anything else on that? Okay. Thank you, guys. The meeting is adjourned.
All right. I call the meeting to the rec board. Approval of the agenda. I have a motion on the floor, properly seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Recognitions. Is Teresa? No, okay. And okay, and she hasn't. So, okay, we'll move on to, oh, go ahead, Tina.
I do want to say, good job to Teresa, because I feel like I've not heard any complaints over gym problems. Maybe there are some that I don't know about, but I'm just saying every winter, it's kind of a, it's a big deal. And so I feel like, good job.
I would say if there is, it's been resolved quickly at a much lower level.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Compared to where we have been in the past with phone calls and yep. So yes, absolutely. Okay, moving on to visitors, seeing none. Action items, the consent agenda, I will entertain. I have a motion on the floor properly seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I don't have any old business, or actually, do we know anything on the ramp? Have we heard any more? Okay. In anything under new business? I don't have anything. Okay, moving on to discussion items. Is there anything we need to discuss? Teresa hasn't sent me anything, so. Okay, I adjourn.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's matchingdonors.com. Matchingdonors.com links living organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the United States, 22 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you are someone in need of an organ transplant, visit matchingdonors.com, home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. Matchingdonors.com.